Hey, what's happening out there? This is Halftime Prep Talk. We're here at Boyd County High School, or actually over at the old high school, in the weight room here at Boyd County, and the Lions will be taking on Lawrence County this Friday night at home. Of course, you're watching this on Friday at dailyindependent.com or HTPT's Facebook page. You might be watching on YouTube. This is Zack Klemme, Matt Sparks. I'm Aaron Snyder. Of course, they already kicked off the season, which I need to give you a round of applause, guys. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic job at West Carter. Earlier this summer, back in July, you guys took it over.
Yeah,
and
we were actually amazed that we can do the show without you.
Well,
Because it never happened before.
You didn't miss a step.
Yeah,
We were amazed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think Zach was amazed,
No, he's amazed. I mean, he's very capable with it,
but I appreciate the kind words.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was also insulted because you said I was out chasing Pikachu or something.
I said that.
Why would I engage in such a childish game with no purpose? I was actually playing Dots, the app on my phone, and I was trying to break a world record, and I got 225. That's pretty good.
Is that good?
Have you ever played Dots?
I've never heard of Dots.
It's also a
Dots
childish
is like
game.
the candy that you buy at Walmart, right?
It's a fun game. It's very addictive.
So you got too much time on your hands to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't really playing Dots.
Yeah.
But you guys out there in viewership land are in for a treat because we actually prepared for this show, believe it or not. You wouldn't guess that by the first 2.5 minutes, but we actually did. But we're going to have John Gill, the coach of Boyd County, here with us here in just a little bit, and Austin Terry, who plays linebacker and offensive line. He's been around for a while. He's a senior now. I want to get into this, though. There are a lot of interesting storylines leading into the season, a lot of interesting teams, potentially, that we could watch this season. As we talked about the other day when we were preparing, we were supposed to pick one team that might be the most interesting to you and most intriguing to you, and give a reason why. So I'm going to let Zach take it here. You go first.
Well, I'll go with Paintsville, of course, undefeated all the way to the Class A state semifinals last year. Lost that game, kind of shorthanded personnel-wise in that game. A guy by the name of Cash Daniel. Have you heard of him?
I have.
Football player,
Is it
linebacker.
Daniel or Daniels?
Depends on who you ask, but I've always seen it spelled Daniel.
Okay.
Pronounced Daniels sometimes, but spelled Daniel. Very good, of course, linebacker, quarterback there for Paintsville. Departed at graduation. He's playing at Kentucky. Of course, they have some capable personnel returning as well. Kent Phelps is battling a little bit of a hamstring issue. He was injured a couple times over the course of the offseason. Just committed to Wofford on Wednesday, I believe. Announced that on Twitter. But really what intrigues me about Paintsville, not just how do you replace Cash Daniel. In your tab story, you say T-Rex size footprints. Had a tremendous imprint on that program last fall. But really more than that is what does Paintsville have to do to take the next step? Reading Joe Cherico's comments, which you'll see in the tab story, are we relevant now? Is Paintsville relevant now? And it seems maybe a silly question on the face of it to ask because among Class A teams, they are almost unparalleled in tradition. Pikeville is in that conversation as well among teams in Eastern Kentucky. But he says, he wants to make Raceland the favorite in that district, in that Class A district, despite Paintsville having absolutely beaten the tar out of them in the regular season. Then Raceland comes back, plays them close in the playoffs. But, it's interesting to see that does Paintsville really still view itself as the underdog? Should they view themselves as the underdog? Of course, a lot of times, psychology and how you manage that is a big part of coaching, and Joe Cherico is very good at that as we've seen. But it's just interesting to see how does Paintsville
If I
view
played for
itself.
him, I wouldn't think my team was any good.
No, I mean, you read before last year, he says in the tab story, we just want to win a few games. Well, they end up winning their first 13 or so.
13.
So it just depends on, how you view yourself and how will that impact their play on the field as they will be favored heavily in quite a few games this year. So how they manage those expectations and still kind of keep that edge that he's looking for.
All right, so Paintsville will be an interesting team to watch. What about you, Matt?
I'm going to go with West Carter because, the question I think in all the field is how do you follow a historic season that they had?
Sure.
First district title in school history, first playoff win, first home playoff win. That's the trick. How do you follow? Because now you got a game this week for a new season to start. And now you got to start that season now with maybe one of your best players of all time, Braden Brown, not being there.
Right.
The guy accounted for over 2,700 yards of offense last season and 46 touchdowns. But they got his cousin now going to be under center at quarterback, Ethan Brown, very capable quarterback, very athletic, very speedy. I think that that they should bounce back pretty quickly.
Well, along the same lines, guys, I'm going to go with Ashland as my most interesting team to watch just because of the departures that they had to go through. And, of course, Quentin Baker's not there anymore. He's the all-time leading rusher in school history. And Drew O'Brien, just an excellent linebacker that is now at Western Kentucky along with Baker. Taylor Broughton, another big defensive presence for them that they won't have this year. But there's a lot of new faces that you'll see. Kind of a quarterback quandary. They have Will Atkins and Braxton Ratliff kind of battling it out throughout the preseason. Ratliff may get the nod at first, but we'll see how that goes. Tony Love said that he likes, qualities about both guys. Atkins does have a little more height, and I think he throws a nice deep ball. Ratliff is possibly a little more athletic. He can run well, and you're going to have Tate Dowdy at receiver now. He was a quarterback last year. He's going to be a receiver. But really what they're going to have to really make up is that offensive line, because they don't have any returning linemen up front. In the trenches, all they have is Michael Burgess as far as returners because, but he's really not a returner because, he was out most of the year last year with a broken leg. He missed most of the season. He only played 2 games to start off. So Ashland, of course, is off this week. They play against Raceland, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Tomcats can do without Baker and O'Brien and those guys. Let's roll the footage that Matt Sparks captured, and we're going to tease next week's show before we move on to the interview portion. Next week's show is going to be at Greenup County. We're going to preview the backyard brawl, Greenup and Russell. Right here you can see Max Blackburn running in a touchdown against Rowan County. Matt, just real quickly, what did you pick up from the EKC Grid-O-Rama? Anything of note?
Just a couple games at Raceland that night. Russell has another strong ground game. Nick Conley, of course, is back. Maybe preseason favorite for all-area player of the year, in my opinion. But also they've got several other backs to complement him in the backfield. Max Blackburn, of course, is one of them. Raceland looked strong again.
I like their uniforms.
Yeah, I like their uniforms too. They're very orange. They're
They kind of look like the old school Bengals.
Yeah, I think they have a few options this year as far as maybe it depends on their mood heading into the game or something.
They're kind of like the Oregon Ducks.
But
Change uniforms every week.
974.
Of course, at Raceland, I think Raceland likes to spread it around a little bit, like go through the air as well on the ground. Cameron Webb caught 3 touchdown passes, I think, against Bath County. So I think the Raceland's pretty strong.
Let's go to our 3-point stance, the top 3 games of the weekend. And since we're talking about Raceland, let's go ahead and go with Zach here. Let's take the Raceland at West Carter game on Friday night, which you're going to be at. That'd be tonight, actually. You're watching this on Friday. So Raceland, West Carter.
Rematch of season opener again from last year. Raceland was able to win that game. But kind of an interesting thing out of that is that the 2 teams came out of that game last year. The winner came out of it kind of feeling like, okay, we've got a lot of work to do. Raceland was used to blowing people out of the water the previous couple of years before that. Did not do that to West Carter. They realized,
25.
Okay, we got some work to do, and the rest of the year kind of proved that last year was. It sounds silly for some schools to say 7 and 5 years of rebuilding year, but for Raceland in some ways it was. Whereas West Carter comes out of that game, they get beat, but they played hard. They made some strides at the end of the game to get it close. They came out of that game with a lot of confidence, and they ran that all the way to the second round of the playoffs for the first time in school history. So kind of an interesting game in that maybe psychologically, again, it's not what you would have expected just to look at the final outcome, but it kind of was set the tone for the rest of both of those 2 team seasons. Offensively, they like to do the same thing, kind of run the ball out of that spread. They don't block it exactly the same way, but they like to do some similar things. And so if you're looking for a game that might end fairly early because the clock will be running all the time because they're running the ball, that might be one to look at. And
there you go.
We mentioned Ethan Brown earlier, of course, a new quarterback, but because of his genes, who his father is, who his uncle is, he knows that offense pretty well. And we'll see just how much of a beat they have to skip to kind of get him familiar with that as well. And Raceland returns a quarterback, returns 1 running back, loses a lot of their offensive personnel from last year, but they bring back some important guys, some linemen. So should be a fairly evenly matched game. Has the potential to be at least.
Jerome Paul, Isaac Wallace kind of leading that line for
Yeah.
Raceland. Let's go to where you're going to be, Vanceburg, Greenup County at Lewis County.
Well, this is the 4th straight season that these 2 teams have faced each other to start the season. So I think these 2 teams are really pretty familiar with each other. You look at Lewis County, they're trying to rebound from a 1-9 season last year. Lost a lot of key seniors off that team. But they bring back Isaac Kelly, quarterback, a junior. And you look at, I think a sophomore Garrett Applegate probably will be a major contributor for their offense this season. But you look at Greenup too. Greenup relies stuff on defense. Defense is maybe their core of their program. I think they're going to have to lean on that a little bit, especially early in the season. As new coach Scott Grizzle implements a fast-paced spread offense that they've got to adapt to, and also they got a new quarterback too, Chase Hunt. So it might take a little while for the offense to come around to the defense.
I thought it was kind of interesting what Grizzle told you, that they were going to run the offense as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. So,
Like a fast break in basketball down the field.
Right. I'll take the game that Rocky Stanley's actually going to be at, and I may make an appearance here as well. Lawrence County at Boyd County. The Lions are trying to kind of keep the magic feeling going a little bit. That they ended on a high note last year. They're trying to keep that going against a Lawrence County team that's largely inexperienced at skill positions. But they have, as Coach Gill will say here in just a little bit, they do have some talent for sure. And Lawrence County is going to be looking at a new quarterback, some new running backs. Jordan Johnson, though, is a good athlete back there in the backfield. They're going to also be relying on some new receivers, too, with Timmy Dalton gone, Robert Dalton gone. So it could be interesting to see what they have to offer. But for Boyd County, they're going to be leaning on a new quarterback, Dalton Atkins, a sophomore, who's a highly skilled athlete. They're going to be leaning on Christian Brawley, who had 692 rushing yards last year, and they're going to be leaning on key guys like Austin Terry, who we'll have on here in just a little bit as well. So I think that's going to be a very evenly matched game. I can see it going down to the wire. It's going to be a matter of, you got two sophomore quarterbacks going at it against each other, Noah West and Dalton Atkins. It's going to be a matter of, who makes the plays there at the end. And I don't know if you guys want me to give my prediction, but I think I'm going to go with the Lions. Of course, you can check that out in the paper as well. And that leads me to my two keys for the whole season, guys. The two keys for you guys out there. Follow us on Twitter. That's one. That's at SparksWillFly35.
Right.
At Z Klemme, AD. I was looking for verification.
Wow, I thought everybody knew that already.
I know. And at the Independent QB. Follow us on Twitter. And then the second thing, read the newspaper every day. Read the Daily Independent every day if you can, because we're going to have content in there every single day of the week. Monday we had from the Monday morning quarterback to my predictions on Friday to game coverage on Saturday, through other sports throughout the week. We're going to have volleyball, soccer, cross country, so on and so forth. Previews. We got it all covered. So you can go to dailyindependent.com, or you can grab the newspaper. Hopefully you grab one today, because it's one of the most important days of the year for high school football fans. It's Christmas morning. Get your high school football preview issue. These guys worked hard at it. Rocky Stanley, Kevin Goldie, the list goes on. We had so many contributors, and we take a lot of pride in the publication. So hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoy what's to come, which is Coach John Gill.
Back here at Boyd County's weight room with head coach John Gillum, getting ready to start your fourth year here, and starting to kind of feel like you got your legs under you and getting the program built where you want it to be.
Yeah, we've got some things that's kind of coming along and improving here and there. Or this new weight room here is a facility that was an old facility, and we've taken it and kind of put some paint to it and rubberized the floor and kind of made it our place, so to speak. So we've got some things coming on. We finally got in-school weights, which is a big deal here. A lot of the programs already have that, and it was a kind of a must-need for us. And anytime that you're going into the late in the season and you haven't been lifting and stuff, it kind of shows up a little bit. Right. But we're excited about it.
No doubt. Of course, a defensive coordinator on Matt Ballard's staff at Morehead State before you came here, and going from being a college assistant coach and a coordinator to being a high school head coach, of course, there's some different nuances with there. And I guess what was the most difficult part of that transition for you as a coach?
Well, I think probably the most difficult thing is just the everyday making sure you've got all the stuff covered and somebody's doing this or got that covered, and then a lot of the public speaking and a lot of the stuff that you're going out and dealing with the public a little bit more. Takes up a lot of your time, so you kind of got to delegate a lot to your assistants, and I've been fortunate enough to get some good quality guys here recently, and we're excited about our staff.
You guys have doubled your win total the last 2 years here, 1 to 2 to 4 last fall. Obviously, to do that again, 8 wins, that's aiming pretty high. But for you guys, what's the next step to kind of continue building on what you guys have done the last 3
Well, I
years?
think what I tell most of the guys is not to worry about that, the wins-loss part of it, and take care of the process. And usually the process has a tendency to take care of the results. And we're trying to push that. Obviously, we want improvement. We're climbing, and we feel like we're. It's been I tell our guys all the time, feel like we're climbing a ladder, but it's never easy. It's a constant battle. You got to work. You're never going to just hey, we're there. And on the flip side of that, I think the teams that are already there, they've got to continue to work too, and they know that. So it is a constant battle, but we definitely are shooting for a winning season and trying to get into the playoffs and just keep on going.
You mentioned your assistant coaches a moment ago, and of course brought on Adam Turner from Sheldon Clark last winter, and then you just mentioned another head coach you guys, a former head coach you guys have just brought
we've
on.
got Mike Salmons. I think Mike was the head coach down in Greenham County for a while and has been a lot of different places, been in it for a long time. Mike was in it when I was at Morehead State and coming through this area recruiting, so I've known him forever. So adding 2 guys as former head coaches, obviously with knowledge, and then we've got some other young guys that we've added that just have a lot of football knowledge, and it's a big benefit for our players, and I think that will show in our program.
We'll wrap up this. Of course, Lawrence County comes in here on Friday night. Some personnel changes as you guys have had as well, but I think one of the things you know about them is they're scrappy. They're always going to play hard. How good of a test is that for you guys week 1?
Well, they graduated a lot of folks, but it doesn't look like it on film. So they've got they 2 platoon. So they've got a whole group that plays offense and a whole group that plays defense, and obviously that helps you anytime you're playing an opponent that like us, who are playing a lot of guys both ways. So it's going to be it's going to be a battle for us. But they've got good quality kids. Quarterback is outstanding. Got a nice fullback that runs the ball hard, and they run that triple option. And last year, I think the fullback almost rushed for 200 yards on us. So we've got our hands full, but we're excited about it.
Turn it over to Aaron Snyder and Austin Terry.
Here with Austin Terry, senior middle linebacker, not to be confused with office linebacker Terry Tate. You know who that is? Okay. See, I'm getting old. We'll have to play some old video of Terry Tate sometime on the show. Austin Terry, a big contributor to Boyd County's success at the end of the year last year. You guys had a big win over Tulsa. 34-32 win that Rocky Stanley, he dedicated a significant portion of the preview story that'll be out in this Friday's preview to talking about that game. And I know you guys like to talk about it and how much it boosted you going into the offseason. So can you kind of comment on that?
I mean, most of that game, a lot of the reason that we had a lot of momentum going in that game was because of seniors. I think the whole team kind of knew we weren't going to the playoffs, so we didn't win enough district games. And those seniors knew it was the last time they was going to play football, and especially play football at Tom Scott. So, they were going as hard as they could, and we had, they had the whole team behind them, and we just wanted to send those guys out with a win, and it just started to escalate. And by the end of the game, we're hanging with an undefeated team, from West Virginia, and before you know it, we win the game, and it was an unbelievable feeling, to have that win under our belt. Especially since those guys were leaving, never to play, it was the way to go out. And
now that you're a senior, you get to experience that feeling of walking down those steps a few more times, Tom Scott Field. How much are you looking forward to this Friday against Lawrence County, walking down those steps in between the fans and getting on the field?
I mean, just the feeling of walking down those stands is just indescribable. You stand under the lights, and it's just, there's like something in the air. It's like, you get goosebumps, and you just get that football feeling. But we've got a good, not only do we have a good team, but we've got a good student section, student body behind us, backing us up. They want us to win. The family in the crowd, you can just feel that love for us, and they help us win too. And you can definitely feel that when you walk down those stands.
Austin, you're entering your 3rd season now as a starting middle linebacker, entering a 2nd season as your starting offensive lineman. I know you played there some as a sophomore, correct? And I think a big reason for that is, and it's fitting that we're in the weight room, is your dedication to the weight room. Can you talk about that and how you've kind of improved your numbers over the years, maybe specifically before this year?
I mean, coming in as a freshman, I probably weighed like 180, maybe 185 pounds. My max bench was probably 145, squat was 255. And then, you know, I didn't play much my freshman year, of course, but then going into my sophomore year, I gained about, 5 to 10 pounds. I weighed about 190 my sophomore year. And my weight was pretty consistent between my sophomore and junior year. But last year, in my junior year, my max bench was like 285, squat was 400. I think I power cleaned 245, and then, just a few months ago, this past weightlifting season, I benched 325, power cleaned 275, I squatted 445, and we don't max on our deadlifts that much.
Yeah.
But, I've had about a 50-pound increase in all my lifts this past off season, and I weigh about 215 right now, so I've gained about 20 pounds.
Impressive numbers
past
for
6
sure.
months. And it's not just me that's done that. I mean, it's the whole team. We got other linebackers like Brandon Burrows, our defensive end, J.D. Workman, Christian Brawley. The whole team, us collectively as a team, has gotten bigger, faster, stronger, than we've been the past 4 years that I've been playing football here.
So a little rejuvenation here in the Boyd
Yeah.
County program, and especially in the weight room. We'll see how that translates onto the field. Like I said, big time numbers for sure in the weight room for you. And another number that's important to you is 54. That's the one you wear on your back. It's the one that Brian Urlacher used to wear. You were telling me that I think you might have been a little inspired by his play. So tell me about how you started kind of become fascinated with Brian Urlacher, the former Chicago Bear, of course.
The Chicago Bears defense is always nasty. It's always just been really sought after, and he's just a hard-nosed linebacker. You got other linebackers like Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis is a good hype man, but Brian Urlacher is just one of those quiet guys that takes care of business on the field, and I like that. It doesn't have to be loud. Lets his what he does on the field speak for itself, and I like that about him, and it's kind of why I wanted him to be that number. Of course, we play the same position too, so that's why I chose number 54.
All right, we'll be looking for number 54. If you're out here at Boyd County on Friday night against Lawrence County, look for the other numbers too, because like you said, the whole team, it seems, has an extra jump in their step this year. Lawrence County could be an interesting opponent, so that should be a pretty good game, I would think.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, you can follow Austin Terry on Twitter too if you want to, at Austin Terry 54. Pretty simple. You can remember that, can't you? So, all right, Austin, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
2 for the road. We're going to Olympics.
Olympics.
Rio. My wife actually went there last summer.
Really?
Yeah, she did.
Where at exactly?
Copacabana Beach, where the beach volleyball is held. Yeah, she was there. And she saw the Christ the Redeemer statue and everything. So, yeah, she got to tour Rio. I was kind of jealous. But in Rio this summer, there's a lot of fashion statements going on, I noticed. I was watching some sprinters the other night. I was watching some women's running, and very impressed with all the athleticism, of course, anytime you watch the Summer Olympics. But I was also very impressed with all the jewelry that they were wearing. And then they would zoom in on their fingernails, just finely manicured and really pointy, 2-inch long fingernails. I'm like,
Yeah, look like Wolverine.
they really don't look like athletes out there until they start
Right.
running. But it looks like a modeling show.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I guess NBC. It's internationally televised, so you got to look pretty while you're running. So, little fashion statement.
For my parting shot here, I'm gonna get a little serious.
Oh,
I know it's a stretch.
should I get out of the frame?
It's a little stretch for me, I know, but I ask you, where do you draw the line between integrity and talent in sports? We've seen a ton of examples over the years in sports where if you can produce on the field, it seems like the way you act off the field is okay. It seems like it doesn't hurt you long term. The name of two numbers to mention here, of course, because of time. But I think the latest example of this that you've seen is U.S. keeper on the women's team, Hope Solo. Mm-hmm. She's a player that has disrespected her former teammates. She's publicly degraded her coaches. She's failed a drug test in her career, and also, she has allegations of assaulting her own family members. But yet, because of her talent, she seems to get a pass.
Yeah, you're right.
And now her temper has resurfaced again, her poor attitude. When after her team lost in the quarterfinals of the Olympics, she called the Sweden team a bunch of cowards. No one likes a solo artist. Okay, you got that?
I got it.
And I'm sure that no one likes to lose. But if you want to be a leader on the team, I think you can find a way to handle that with more respect. I mean, because you have to ask yourself, where does it end? And where do we say that we should hold our pro athletes to a higher standard, especially the ones that wear the USA uniform? Because now it seems like that line is getting as murky as the water at the Rio Olympics.
Sparks will indeed fly. Hashtag Sparks will fly.
That's all I got.
Okay, that's it. All right, well, that's it for us from Boyd County. Thank you again to Coach John Gillum and linebacker, offensive lineman Austin Terry for joining us. We want to wish all the best, all the teams in our area, best of luck throughout the season. Hopefully, limited number of injuries and so on and so forth. So we will see you next week from Greenup County. For Matthew Sparks, Zack Klemme, I'm Aaron Snyder. See you then. Oh man, I almost hit it.